this very timely event, for giving us this opportunity, and for all the work you have been doing on behalf of Friends of Palestine, on behalf of justice and peace in the Middle East. Also, I am very honored to share this panel today with my two distinguished friends, Chris Doyle of Cabo and Tayyib Ali of the ICGP, two institutions and organizations that have been a bedrock for supporting Palestine. However, Cabo did exist many decades now, and the new institutions that are actually focusing on the legal track, which matters the most given the situation nowadays. And may I start, Anne-Marie, by a big fat congratulations for the Liberal Democrats for that very historic showing in the last general elections with 72 members of parliament. This is a party that can have significant influence on government policies, and not least, we hope, on foreign policy and on Palestine. As we fully appreciate the Liberal Democrats' various political programs, various resolutions and motions in conferences, and the annual conferences like this one, and in the manifesto during the last elections, we very much appreciate the party's clarity when it comes to international issues, of course, including Palestine. We must accredit you, and credit is due, that the Liberal Democrats were the first to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire, and were advanced in its clarity vis-a-vis the immediate recognition of the State of Palestine, rather than dancing around the words and dancing around the bushes. And you were absolutely the first, and remain to be the only, to be calling for a ban on all the illegal settlement products. We will work with you to make sure all other political parties in the UK do adopt such clarity when it comes to foreign policy and the commitment to international law. Obviously, an end to Israel's genocidal violence has to be the priority. I was thinking to arrive on a jet ski. That's my motorcycle outside. So obviously, the end to Israel's genocidal aggression, violence, has got to be our absolute top priority. I am sure I won't have to tell you here, my friends, the situation in Gaza, but it is indescribable in words, as you just heard from Anne-Marie. I was born in Gaza, my family is in Gaza, and I cannot really begin to describe to you the sheer human suffering, the deliberate imposed measures of complete extermination of a people, their lives and their livelihoods. And all this is imposed by an unaccountable Israeli government and military that has broken every single provision, the basic provisions of law, and not just international law, of even our very human values. It must stop. The UK must act to stop it. The UK must end its support for Israel's law-breaking in the occupied territory. The UK must end its support for Israel's appalling and daily war crimes that are not confined to Gaza, but are everyday reality in the West Bank and East Jerusalem too. This is not just about us, my friend. This is a moral and legal obligation, an imperative on the UK and on the rest of the world, the international community. But it is also not enough, as the Liberal Dems or the Lib Dems have correctly identified. A ceasefire in Gaza and a launch of a massive reconstruction and, I might add, healing program are the first priorities, but cannot be divorced from the broader political picture. A ceasefire must happen, but it is not an end in itself. And history did not begin on the 7th of October. And we must never, ever accept to go back to some sort of a status quo ante. Enough This is a time when we say enough. Enough occupation. If you have any trouble identifying the root problems in Palestine, then look no further. It is that. The Palestinian people have been denied our rights for 76 years, my friends. We have been denied our right to self-determination in a state of our own. Our refugees, including myself and my family, have been denied our right to return. And generation after generation of children have been denied any hope for a future free of military oppression, subjugation, and foreign rule. Enough now, my friends. There is only one way to reach our destination, a destination around which there is a global consensus. First, we have to be clear about where we are going. For this reason alone, the immediate recognition of the State of Palestine will represent a giant step forward for everyone concerned. The immediate recognition of the State of Palestine. Everyone claims to want to get there. Everyone. Because everyone claims to espouse the two-state solution. The UK must do more than merely talk. There has been enough of talk for a long time. Make it a legal reality. We need to make this vision of peace a legal reality. And I'm sitting next to my lawyers. Scary.
Yeah, try to be.
A legal reality. Recognition will immediately level the legal and diplomatic playing fields. It will no longer be Israel and Palestinians for all these years. Israel and Palestinians. So Palestinians are just a group of individuals. It will become, once the UK and other Western nations, countries recognize the State of Palestine, it will become Israel and Palestine as it should. Therefore, clarity is there. We are not discussing the fundamentals. We are discussing the modalities, but not the fundamentals. Recognition will also do something intangible but invaluable. It will engender hope. Hope. It will engender hope among a Palestinian people appalled that the international system has failed them at a time of genocide. Appalled that Israel's allies, including the UK, have not only failed to rein in, but have continued to materially support Israel's blatant transgressions of international law and outrageous war crimes. And hope must not be underestimated, my friends, and I cannot stress this very point enough. Hope cannot be underestimated. Despair cannot be underestimated on the other side of the coin. In fact, hope is a prerequisite for a just and lasting peace. If we really mean a just and lasting peace, nothing will push us in that direction more than instilling hope in the hearts and the minds of the millions of people who are subject to this. And we have to believe it is possible. Not just say it every press conference. We have to believe in our hearts that peace is possible, that justice is possible, that the equal application of international law is possible. And belief is in itself hope. Once you believe in it, you do radiate hope to others. And every government that doesn't do some of these steps I'm listing does not believe in what they say, is not interested in giving a different course of direction. It's a lip service that has gone on for decades. The UK, of course, also has a historic responsibility here. It does. It was the British Empire that started this entire issue in the first place, giving away our land without even consulting us. It is the UK that needs to own this responsibility. This is not about guilt or blame. It's about responsibility. It's about leadership and statesmanship. and act to rectify that injustice that was inflicted on the Palestinian people in 1970. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, this is not about granting or gifting the Palestinian people. Nobody is giving us a gift by recognizing our right to self-determination. This is not a gift. It's not a favor. It's not a reward. It is an inalienable right that is long overdue. Long overdue. Our right to self-determination, my friends, is not up for conversation and discussion. And every day that you are delaying is a day that you are actually not fulfilling a birthright of a nation on its land. And this is about the UK and every other country, not just the UK, in the world, living up to its moral and legal responsibilities under international law. And international law requires the recognition of people's right to self-determination. It is clear, absolutely, abundantly clear, that not only is Israel's occupation illegal, and I'm sure you will hear from our friends now about the ICJ ruling and how the international system is absolutely clear now about the legal situation in Palestine. Not only vis-a-vis the military occupation, but vis-a-vis the colonial settlements for 6 decades now. And the issue is, Israel has done this with absolute impunity over all these decades. The gross violation of international law and the gross abdication of duty by the international community. Complete abdication. In particular by Israel's allies here in Europe and in the US. The International Court of Justice has been clear, very clear, about the unlawfulness of Israel's continued military occupation, about the unlawfulness of the colonial settlement expansion, and about third-party role. That all third parties, all countries must cease to provide any material, political, or legal support to Israel's unlawful policies. It is a duty now, an obligation, a commitment. Otherwise, all those who continue to extend such support are complicit. And we do follow some of the recent important steps taken by the UK government, including, of course, the suspension of a number of arms licenses that the government has announced, the UK government. We welcomed it. It's a major step in the very right direction. But we believe more needs to be done. It does not go far enough to make a real difference on the ground, and it does not go far enough to absolve the UK of responsibility with Israel's action. An arms embargo will help us reach a ceasefire. It has got to be a full arms embargo. And that is in line with the legal requirements. Statehood recognition will set a legal, political, as we discussed, diplomatic endgame. But we must be realistic. Unless such moves are given teeth, they will fail. And that is why we also urge the UK government and all other governments to impose sanctions on the illegalities. As simple as that. Recognition on the one hand, upholding international law, and making sure you do not provide any party with tools to actually commit war crimes, but also create a pressure campaign via sanctions. And the list is very clear what is required. And that is exactly why I started by commending the Liberal Democrats for taking a decision to ban all the illegal products from arriving to the UK, the settlement products and what have you. And the list of sanctions vis-a-vis the companies that operate illegally in the occupied territories, in the settlements, are very well known. Just to conclude here, my friends, at the heart, the Palestine cause is not just about the Palestinians or Palestine. It is about all of us. It's about the kind of world we want to live in. It is about whether we are serious about a global rules-based order that applies to all equally. It is about whether the countries of the world are willing to and able to apply the rules to their friends as well as their enemies, because it has been very selective and very discouraging what we have seen in terms of the hypocrisy and in terms of thinking that international law only applies to the poor, to the South, but it doesn't apply to the West in some way or another. We have to end this culture of impunity and exceptions, and we must proceed to actually make sure that we bring life back to the international rules-based order, to the structures we built, and I believe Liberal Democrats can play a decisive, important role here in the UK and globally. So thank you.